Today on If You Didn't Know, we're sitting down with David Pierce, a composer, educator, and the creative force behind Denton's Day of the Dead Festival. We're going to talk music, community, and how one idea helped shape one of Denton's most beloved traditions. Denton's got it all: the food, the music, the art, and of course the people. And behind every corner, there's a story worth sharing. And that's what this podcast is all about: Denton's best, one conversation at a time. I'm Brad, and this is If You Didn't Know, Now You Know. Welcome back to If You Didn't Know. Really excited today to have David Pierce in with us. David, welcome to the studio here in the Den.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here for sure.
Yeah, thank you. We're just south of the square in downtown, where we all love so much. So the Day of the Dead Festival that we're going to talk a lot about, and some of the other things you got going on, is so integral to downtown and downtown to that, and it works both ways. But man, really excited to get to know you. I've heard a lot about you, but we just met very recently.
That's right.
Yeah, and so really excited in real time to learn more about you here. So I guess let's start we've got to start with where you kind of grew up. South Texas somewhere, and kind of it's some of the inspiration behind that, or that you kind of picked up there.
Definitely. So I grew up in Corpus Christi, Texas, South Texas.
Okay.
And, growing up through there was a small music scene, a small little jazz scene that at some point, early teens, middle school age, I started to gravitate towards when I got into band, and I kind of really got fascinated by jazz music and writing music. All this stuff was starting to happen in high school, and it was nurtured by a lot of the older musicians. So I was pretty lucky to have that experience. And when I heard about University of North Texas, it was just by pure happenstance. A friend of mine, another musician friend of mine that was a year older, that was coming up here, and I had not made a decision as a junior in high school where I was going to go.
Yeah.
So when this place was suggested, I thought, well, I didn't know anything about the music school, didn't know anything about this. Heard some recordings of the lab bands play.
Yeah.
I thought, oh my God, what is this madness, and so fell in love with it instantly. Then came to find out there's a history of, on my dad's side of the family, Pierce, of a lot of people that lived here in Denton.
Oh, really?
That the small street over here somewhere, Pierce Street.
There's a Pierce Street here,
There's a connection there, blah, blah, blah. So then I found out, wow, I had all this other stuff going on I didn't even know about, which kind of made it cool. So it felt like maybe this was meant to be.
Yeah. So did you grow up like kind of I know like the Day of the Dead Festival and kind of some of the music behind that, and the whole kind of Hispanic culture behind that.
Correct. You
kind of in South Texas kind of had some of that vibe going on.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Corpus Christi is predominantly Hispanic, and I come from a mixed race family. My mother's Hispanic; she's Mexican.
Yeah.
And like so many people from her generation, her parents lived in Mexico as children and came over with their parents,
Right.
And so Pierce being my last name, Anzaldúa is her last name. I even include that in my title when I talk about this. I want everyone to sort of know history.
Yeah.
Especially when we talk about a sensitive issue like culture, right?
Sure.
So we want to make sure that all the ideas we hope that we're putting out there, people can understand that they're coming from the right place. But growing up with that, the whole idea and symbolism of Day of the Dead, being the fact that we grew up in Corpus Christi, we had a place in our house that already had like a 24/7 altar, an ofrenda that was there from all of our family that had passed on. And so it was part of stuff that I knew about, and that was my culture. And it wasn't until when I came up here and I started thinking about, one connecting dots that led into this fall festival to where I thought, well, what a neat idea it would be. What a Denton idea, if I may, to have a festival that sort of encompasses all these different elements in the fall.
Yeah. So cool. Okay. Well, I love that background and kind of that. I know that, it shines through in what you're doing and kind of why you're doing it. So so let's talk a little more. Kind of, you got into music, started playing
Right.
trombone, and kind of performing as a teenager.
Right.
Obviously, came to UNT to got into the music program there. By the way, I love the fact that I can't tell you how many of my guests already. Well, why are you in Denton? Well, I came for UNT
Right.
and then I stayed. I
Sure.
just fell in love with Denton and here I am.
Yeah.
Now some of us, I grew up in Crum in Denton County, so that's kind of why I'm around. But a lot of people I talk to,
Yes.
these great, just powerful, creative, such integral parts of our community now. Yeah, they came for UNT or TW or whatever.
That's
So,
right. That's
yeah.
right. And that was what was so uh, great about when I was going through school. I think like a lot of college students, you feel like, well, I'm getting out of this one horse town,
Yeah, yeah.
and then I immediately. When I graduated, I student taught in Southlake, and they
Okay.
were just about to expand. They had
Yeah.
not blown up yet, so they needed band directors, and so they hired me. Moved out of Denton, lived in the mid cities area, hopped around for a while, and then when my wife and I started living together, and we were looking for a place to buy, we just both knew that we wanted to get back to Denton. So it took me a few years to
Yeah.
realize that. Man, I should not have
That
left.
was the good. That was the good
So,
place. Yeah.
so I got back.
Okay, cool, man. So you graduated UNT, started teaching at Southlake, music, right?
That's right.
Composite. What was it? What
I
kind
was
of
a
music?
band director. Yeah, I taught 6th grade up to 12th grade,
Band
and taught band director, music theory, composition, stuff like that at the school. Yeah.
Okay. Loved it or hated it?
I loved
Pros
it.
and cons?
Oh my gosh! I mean, the first, like, I'd say 3 to 5 years, it was the most magical thing in the world. It
Yeah.
felt like this was in the right spot.
Yeah.
I landed where I needed to be, and I had not even the intention of doing that. I thought I was going to go right back and get my master's degree in performance, and then when I student taught there, and the kids were so great, and I loved doing what I was doing, and they threw a gig in my lap, basically.
Yeah.
I jumped in there. So yes, it was wonderful, and really, it wasn't for any other reason. I mean, sure, little tiny reasons here and there, but the main reason is that I just personally had a shift while I was teaching. At some point, I was writing so much music for my students to make it easier or to make it harder for some, and it was a lot of fun. And then I started doing that for different teachers and band, choir, you name it, orchestra.
Mhm.
So then I started building up this client base. And when my wife at the time, who was going through nursing school, when she graduated and started working, I decided at that point, 10 years in, that, well, okay, if I feel like it was a great place to work, a great place to teach at the time, all the resources in the world. I felt like if I blinked, I'd be 65.
Yep.
So I thought this was the moment.
Better
right
give
there.
it a shot.
So, and at that point, I decided to become an arranger and a composer, sort of full time.
All right. So now I'm a newbie to all this. Arranger and composer sounds like the same thing to me.
Sure. Of course. Well, I mean, in a lot
A
of
music
ways,
writer. I mean, I don't know. It all sounds like the same thing. I'm sure there's distinctions between each. But.
Yeah. Like, for example, an arranger primarily will take an existing melody, an existing song, and they'll say, hey, here's this Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Can you adapt that for an orchestra or something? So that's an arranger. Composer would come up with the entire thing, the song, the whole concept.
Yeah.
And so I'm basically both. So I'll, especially for for my show, like Cirque or other things I write, I'll come up with the idea, create it, and then I'll arrange it and orchestrate the music for the musicians.
Man. Well, I know you're talented. Now, I haven't personally been to the show. I tried to get in this last year. Didn't have a ticket. That's on me though. I've learned my lesson, but I've had a lot of friends that have been and just blown away by it. And so let's talk a little bit about the Cirque show, Cirque Horse Show. Was that before the Day of the Dead?
Yes,
That was 2 years before. You started that first.
It was 2 years before. So here I am, out of band directing, teaching some private lessons, trying to write. But I was spinning my wheels creatively because there wasn't anything I was doing for myself.
Yeah.
It was for other people. So I tell this story as often as I can, but my uncle Mike Anzaldúa, my mother's side, he was a very powerful creative force that I've always had. And I went to him with a problem, and he gave me all sorts of ideas of stuff to write music for.
Yeah.
And one of them was a little line or two of this real dark, eerie sounding macabre poetry. And he immediately latched onto that. And I said, oh, what if I wrote a bunch of stories or poems or songs and set them and made like a Halloween vaudeville show, right?
Yeah.
So that just kind of came out of nowhere. And then right after that, I called my buddy Dan Mojica, owner of Dan Silverleaf, and I said, Dan, this was in April, I remember. I said, Dan, I want to book Halloween night. It's Friday, 2009. And he said, well, okay, what's the show going to be? I said, well, I don't know yet. Just put a hold on it.
I got
Just
this.
say I'm going to do a Halloween sort of music theater show. And he said, sounds great, man. And so we did it. We rehearsed. I wrote all the music. My uncle wrote a bunch of spooky poems that I included that year. And so we did this production. I had zero idea about music theater.
Yeah.
Backstage, and Dan's doesn't really have a backstage.
Not really.
It's got a side stage.
Yeah.
There's complete pandemonium and chaos. I've got an orchestra of all of my good buddies that are some of the top musicians in DFW, of like 16 musicians, and we're all painted up like skeletons, and I've got this devilish ringleader outfit on, and we're doing this show at Dan's, and it was like one of the most magical moments, really.
Yeah.
It meant everything. So 2 years after that, I talked to Dan and I said, hey Dan, what if we put it outside like Shakespeare in the Park? What if we put it out on Industrial? And he thought it was a great idea. I said, well, I don't know how to do that. Like, what are the forms? What do I have to do? So he said, well, I have just the people you need to talk to.
Yeah.
So that's when I met Marcus, Watson, and Chris with Little Guys. And they had already been throwing festivals on Industrial Street and, block parties and whatnot. And so I met them. I pitched the idea to them. We had a big meeting with all of the business owners on Industrial. They liked the idea. And basically they said, we'll show you how to do all the forms. We'll show you how to get started, and we'll help fundraise. And that we all just sort of came together and put this on back in 2011.
Okay. So it moved out from kind of that. That's really when Day of the Dead Festival.
And that's where we started right there with vendors and all sorts of stuff. And it was just Industrial from Mulberry to Hickory at that point.
Right.
Yeah. So it was real cozy.
I remember those days. Yeah. There's been a lot of expansion in this, including the coffin races, which we'll get to here in a second. But
yes.
So was it like, okay, I'm sure as not only an arranger and composer, but a performer.
Right.
I'm sure that night, I'm picturing like you just on this amazing high. Like, I can't believe how that was so crazy. What a wild ride. I'm on this high. Like, I want to do this forever. Is that kind of was like, I got to keep doing this and make it bigger and better every year? Or was it like, I don't know if this will work any different than I'm doing it?
I think I had a roller coaster ride. I think I had some series of this is it, got it, to, oh no, that wasn't the right move at all, And, but best lessons are learned the hard way. And so I learned my hard lessons, or a lot of them. And when we came back after the pandemic and we decided we were going to amp up the festival, and I know we fast forwarded, we'll go back a bit, but when I went to the circus tent when we did that, it was a sort of a dream that I didn't even know I had. I thought it was a great idea, and then once we did that sort of like just renewed everybody's energy. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, we will talk more on that. So, I kind of started with this little, first this Cirque show, and then kind of a grassroots block party, so to speak. And now it's a citywide tradition, not only the Day of the Dead Festival, but now it's expanded to, the Denton's or the city's like, wow, what else can we build onto this? And we got 31 days in October. Can we make the whole thing? So it's, to me, and I'm a bit of an outsider on looking at kind of how that's morphed into what it is. And it's just, wow, what an amazing journey. And it all started with that idea. I'm going to do this little show at Dan's. That's so cool,
exactly
Dave.
Right.
So cool. Well, what is it more? Yeah, it's, I think a lot of people now think Day of the Dead Festival, and first thought, coffin races. It's like the first thought that comes to mind, and
big time.
There's so much more. But when did the coffin races kind of come into the picture? And what was the idea, genesis on that?
right after the first year at 2011, when we did the festival outside and we realized we were onto something,
Yeah.
the very next year, 2012, was when we launched the coffin races.
Okay.
And that event put us on the map.
Absolutely.
Just absolutely put us on the map. And it was such a wonderful moment. I remember at the time I was on the Greater Denton Arts Council, and one of the board members, Joey Hawkins,
Yeah.
he had told me, man, I've wanted to do a soapbox derby down Hickory as a GDAC event, and it's like it's not getting any momentum, and we were talking about a soapbox derby down Hickory. Monty Jensen at the time, who was one of the owners at Mellow Mushroom, was in the mix, and he said, "Well, there's a coffin race in Manitou Springs, Colorado, that we checked out, and that one is different. Is it's just a straight stretch, and you have 4 runners that push the coffin the entire way."
Yeah.
So we thought, but it was Day of the Dead themed.
Yeah.
So when we saw that, we thought, okay,
That's it.
let's do coffins instead of soapbox
Yes.
derby. And so then the rest is kind of history. That first year was all bets were off, wheels flew off. We had so many things that could have gone terribly wrong that didn't. And yeah, as the public embraced it. They just went nuts for it. So every year it's the first thing that a lot of sponsors will ask about. It's the first thing that people want to put on their radar to sign up for, so they can, if they want to be in the races. But yeah,
when is that, by the way? Because we've never done one, but we've talked about it for years. So we want to do a coffin this year. That's
right.
March
So it's
or April?
normally we do it. We've been doing it on about 5th of May. We line it up sometime around Cinco de Mayo, just to kind of keep that in everybody's head.
That's smart. I like it.
And so we'll go live at that point. But,
but yeah, it's like you got to get in there if you want a coffin in the race. You got to jump on there in Cuatro de Mayo.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, very cool. So the what else are you doing in the festival? You've got that going on. You've got vendors. Obviously, your show.
Right.
I mean, what?
I think the beautiful thing about something like big, like the coffin races, that initially is the magnet that draws people there. It's great when you're there, then you can see all these other things. And all the other things get amplified, right? So, for example, yes, as we've been talking about, you might walk across to Oak Street and see this enormous circus tent that's got this crazy entryway made by local artist Dan Black, right? That leads you in there, and you don't, what is this, right? But then you turn the corner and you've got this beautiful community ofrenda area, and that's one of my most favorite areas of the fest, just to see how many people come out, participate in that, and also how it's featured in the parade. The parade is just, if the coffin races are the adrenaline and the, if that's the action movie, then all the feels, all of the beauty, that's that parade. It's just so much color. There's so much just happiness, families, little kids, all the way up. It's great to see them participate in that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I also want to be in that next year or this year. So that was fun. You've got like a lantern parade. Like you just said, you've got that flight of the souls, and
that's right.
In this bigger, larger kind of community altar.
That's right.
That embrace that Day of the Dead ideas. So much going on. It is a lot of fun. And man, the number of people. I mean, especially if the weather's good, right? I mean, there's been years where the weather doesn't cooperate for you, but when the weather's good or pretty good, the number of people. I mean, do you have kind of a rough head count?
Well, it's interesting. We used to think by looking at stuff and doing the best, since it's not ticketed, right? It's not gated. We can't really control it. It's all outside. We would guess, and we'd get close. We're somewhere in the realm of, say, anywhere, and I know this sounds funny to say, but 30 to 40,000 people is about what we expect that we see. And last year was just, it was incredible. And to that point, as we expand, here we've got we had a trunk or treat over at the Patterson Apple Arts Center parking lot with vendors and a scene happening out there as people came in from the train, So along with working and building this as such a community-driven festival,
right?
Last year we made a decision to step away from a beer sponsor that we had
Yeah.
for many, many years. And we focused and we created a partnership with local Denton beer brewers. So all of our guys that are here, like DCBC and Union Bear and Toasty Bros, Black Fox, they all came in and they formed like a little collection, a guild, and so we could feature them. And so as we work forward into the future, that's something that we're always trying to think. Not only how can we keep it downtown, we keep it alive with all the businesses, give them a lot of stuff to look forward to.
Yeah.
But then, also at the end of the day, be able to write a check to even more charities, you know, even and not just give a party,
Yeah. Well, we're going to come back to the charity aspect of this because that's an awesome part of it as well. But I want to talk first about how this, I mean, it's not that this morphed into 31 days, but what was the connection or the inflection point that's like, I know we had some folks from the city on before last October, and you can go back and watch that podcast if you want to learn more about kind of how they started.
Right.
But what were your thoughts did they approach you and say, we want to expand this, or they just kind of start doing it and like, we're going to piggyback off of Day of the Dead, or what
it's probably a little of both, you know. When, for the longest time, I remember one of my thoughts was, well, other than, antiques and autos, and then the tree lighting festival, like as far as a fall festival went, there wasn't this big fall fest. And I feel like I always say at the time, I swear I felt like October didn't rain as much as it does these days, but it felt like October was such a beautiful month. I remember, the ups and downs. Some years it rained, some years it didn't. And then I would remember that it was growing and growing and growing. And at one point, we had a rainy start, but it was still some of the most people from about 12 o'clock on than we had ever seen.
Yeah.
And at one point, I think it was at that moment that I realized, man, we've established something here.
Yeah.
Like there is there's kind of a culture shift. Like people are like, this is part of the fall now.
I've got that marked on my calendar.
Right.
That's what we do in October. Yeah.
And so to me, it was sort of a no surprise. I mean, it was sort of a surprise, but then, to think about where we came way back when we started, even with the city and this, the infrastructure as far as like organized with the parks department and working with events, it's where it is now is glorious.
Yeah.
Back then they were getting to where they are now.
Right.
So now we've got people, now we're playing, we're all on the same, it feels like we're so much more on the same team. Not that we felt that we were at odds, but we're like especially with the 31 days, it has created this sort of bond where we're spitballing ideas off each other.
Yeah.
I'm working with Parks Department. I'm working with Denton's Marcom and everything.
Yep.
And it feels like, okay, now we're in this. And that feels very good.
A lot of cohesion there. Yeah. I think it is amazing. And I strongly believe that part of why the 31 days has worked the last couple of years, and I know there's more to build upon it, is because of your festival and the roots of it. And that just, like you said, 40,000 people already kind of coming to this anyway.
Yeah.
Let's broaden that out. And man, I talk to business owners downtown all the time who are like, October like makes my year now,
Right.
and it started from what you did, man. It's so awesome. So cool.
Man. And it's so great how these things work out. I never could have, you don't think about that stuff.
No.
And then now when you're there, it's kind of a pinch me moment a lot, I guess.
Yeah. Well, so some people may be wondering, this is all cool, but why are we talking about this in February? Why don't you talk about it, in September or October, closer to, and maybe we'll get you back on and talk about what you're right in the middle of or right about to start. But one of the reasons I wanted to have you on now is because you've got a really cool event that I just learned about coming up here in a couple of weeks. This moonlit monster ball, right? Is
Correct.
that kind of trying to play off of what you're doing in the fall,
Right?
And bring some more attention to it, or excitement, or just something else to do here in the early spring, I guess.
Yeah, and you know what? This is another thing that just felt like this was the right time to do it. A friend of mine for many years has told me, you should, if you're going to do a spring fundraiser, you have to do some sort of play on Valentine's Day or a vampire ball or something like that to make it what a tie-in that could be. And my initial response was, are you crazy? It's February. I just came off of December, and we're starting the year with planning, not not full speed ahead for an event. But the more I thought about it and seeing how the festival is growing, I realized it's a necessity. So then the second thought was, well, then how do you make that fun and how do you make it different and cool? And speaking of it meant to be, it ties perfectly into the fact that, it's so well known, everybody's so aware of the fact that we are now such a embracing Halloween in the way that we do.
Mm-hmm.
So why
So
not?
what is this thing?
So why not throw a swanky party where you get to dress up like you could dress up like the Addams Family, like to the nines, and maybe just with one something that looks a little creepy, or you could dress like a zombie or a werewolf if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be at the Patterson Appleton Arts Center
Mm-hmm.
on Saturday the 21st from 6 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And a whole bunch of people in the community are going to come in together to help for this. We'll have a whole bunch of visual entertainers for everybody. We'll have a performance from my Orchestra of the Undead, as we call it, in Cirque du Horror. We'll have a show. We'll have some people from the Bearded Monk and Miss Angeline's doing some, macabre sounding cocktails. We'll have Chef Suzanne from the Chestnut Tree do a catered dinner.
Mm.
And then we'll also have, of course, like I said, dancing. We'll have music after the group. We'll have a raffle. So all these proceeds, what we're trying to do is obviously raise awareness, but also, raise any sort of funds that we can to help us with the festival going into October. Because as you might imagine, every year that we've got, wow, that was a cool year, that was a great year, that you got to tweak something for the next year. So, and that always means money, And so how do we do this and how do we make it fun? So we're going to have it at the Arts Center, and we think that's going to be a great thing. We hope that we just make this a new tradition in February. So maybe you want to do Valentine's Day. That's great. Maybe that's not your cup of tea, but you like dressing up. So all that
cool.
stuff.
I am so in on this. This is going to be exciting. In fact, I had a call from a friend yesterday. Said, "Hey, I've got tickets to," and it was a pretty cool event in Fort Worth that it's going on that same night. And would you like to go? I'm like, no, I've got plans that night. I'm doing this thing. So where do people find info and how do they get tickets?
Right. Okay. So the easiest way to do it would be to go to our Denton's Day of the Dead Festival website.
Yeah.
And so that's just www. It's a long URL. Apologies, but DentonDayOfTheDeadFestival.com. If you go there, right away you're hit with the easy button to click on that takes you right to the ticket link.
Okay.
So,
and you're looking for you're selling about 200 tickets.
Yeah, right? We think we'd be if we had about 200 people in there that would feel like a nice full house, but also have space for. We'll have, like I mentioned, there'll be a bunch of visual attractions there too. So we have to, as we decorate, we have to keep in mind all these wonderful things.
Well, I've got a friend coming in town. Shout out to my friend Mihai. He's from Romania.
Okay.
And he's going to be in town that week, and we're bringing him with us. So we're going to get him and his wife there. So he's got to be Dracula, right? There, Transylvania. He's got to be coming out from.
That's funny.
Anyway, this is going to be fun. I don't know what we're gonna dress up as, but I think that's a fun part of it. And really, David, like you said, when you started your first Cirque show and to now see what it's morphed into, who knows what this one could morph into, right? Like what if we also have, hey, you know how much you loved Halloween in October that we did? We're doing it in February too, or whatever.
Right.
It's just like, boom, we got some big things going on. So
yeah.
Anyway, kudos to you, man. Just
Thank
so
you.
excited about this show and everything you're doing. I do want to talk about the charity aspect of your foundation or your event and festival. And so what's that kind of go towards?
Well, I'll tell you, I remember being at North Texas and going to the Mudbug Boil behind Lucky Lou's. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time that I met people, which I'm going to call townies. And they were guys that were about my age or a little older, but they were living here. They weren't really going to school, and they were doing all this community work. And I thought, wow, that's, let me meet some of these guys.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys have been here and have been rooted in Denton for a long time, and they stay active in the community. They're sort of the behind-the-scenes magicians pulling all this. So I sort of got tied into that crowd, and it makes you realize, like, you have an event, you're raising money, then you don't, there's a lot of levels of how you can give back. And so at some point when we started generating enough income, we realized that, we formed our board to be a nonprofit 501c3, but then we realized that, we've got this benefit awarded to us with our status with,
Mm-hmm.
so we wanted to make sure that we were now helping out other people in the
Giving
community
back,
that
yeah.
need it. So for many, many years, we've partnered with Cumberland Youth and Family Services.
Okay.
We've done Serve Denton for many years, and this year or last year, I say we were able to donate money to Goal, and which was a super amazing organization founded by my friend Chris Ice, and anyway, we were able to in total give to $20,000 in charity.
Mm.
And
Wow.
when we first put on the festival, all of its expenses were about $5,500.
Yeah.
And so we've gone from there to make about a $380,000 festival
Is that
to
right?
put on. And so now we can we can start building up the charity. And every year, that's one thing we talk about numbers going up. That's the whole point. We want to kind of keep doing that. And if we have events like this Monster Ball, and it's a fun event, people come out, spend some money, help us with other costs that we've got, then that, of course, in turn allows us to give even more money and help out more of the community.
Man, great cause or causes, and just love that you've incorporated kind of that giving back aspect. That's man, so many great people in town, and
Yes.
this has been amazing to connect with you, David, and really looking forward to a long-term relationship. And I've got so many ideas already that I want to kind of
Nice.
piggyback off what you're doing, but that's what I love about Denton, and this is why I kind of sit down and like talk to people, because there's more going on than people realize.
Right.
Behind this, like you said, all these people behind the scenes. Maybe I know some of these guys and gals you're talking about, and probably don't. And some of them that just things are happening that we're not even totally aware of. And I love Denton for that. I know you do too. That's why you came back. It's like pulled you back in, and you built your home family here. So
That's right.
it's so awesome. Well, what speaking of that,
Okay.
got a shout out for a favorite restaurant or venue or place you'd like to go here in town?
Goodness. Shout out for a favorite restaurant. Well, venue, hands down, if I'm gonna go out and just get a beer, it's pretty much always Dan Silverleaf. That's my go-to. Now I would say second to that, I love I'm a huge fan. There's so many to pick from. It just depends on what mood you're on. Mood you're in. If you want quiet or if you want noisy, I suppose. I love East Side. Man, I'll tell you right now, Taco Wache.
El Taco Wache is
I
good.
can't get enough of that place. I would eat if my doctor didn't say otherwise. I would be there so many times.
Well, they've kind of got the 365 Day of the Dead festival kind of mood going on in there. So yeah, that's really cool. That's right up your alley, I'm sure. Well, this is awesome. Hey, you get a Norman Roscoe hat for joining me today. So take your pick.
I love it.
I'm not saying you have to pick the yellow one, but that would match your shirt kind of. But no, this one would too, actually. Anyway, take your pick.
Man, I think I'm going to have to go with the theme and do the yellow, but the skull.
The skull,
like that.
that's right. That's the one.
Man, I didn't know I was getting a party gift. That's
awesome. Right.
Thank you.
This is so awesome. I'm super excited for this February 21st event, and just encourage people to, hopefully, if there's still tickets available, jump in there, dayofthedeadfestival.org.
.com. DentonDayoftheDeadFestival.com.
DentonDayoftheDeadFestival.com. Jump in there, get you some tickets to that. Let's go dress up and have a good time at that ball. And thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. Just love what you're doing. Keep it up. Keep it up.
I'll do it.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us again on If You Didn't Know. If you didn't know David Pierce before today and more of the story behind this great, amazing festival, now you do. Thanks for joining us.